Udah ngata berat.
Yeah.
Hello. Let's
Hello.
see the bottom there.
Oh, malakaya mana pun.
She's the one who helped us make the film.
Lagu muda dia.
Yes. Gamak pulo.
Taruh.
More on the next page.
Pasti juga yang lain.
Jaga-jaga orang.
Jaga bangun. Nyiapin dulu dari itu.
Ngayon, mahal udah buku.
Mereka balik. Pengen jalan bangun.
Oh yeah. The lights on Instagram. Yeah, the lights on Instagram going up too.
That's the best looking Zoom screen I think I've ever seen. Wonderful to see so many faces rather than little black boxes. We're just going to take another minute or two. Paul Carter's having some trouble with his sound, so we hope he'll be able to get that sorted out quickly.
Bolo. Taruh.
Namun
Tengok balabuk mak pedangan tu.
ada bandel kuma pulang. Wah, mau gitu kan apa?
Doang ni bottom. My New Zealand boy.
Ada beli.
Awak nak tanam. Salam.
Ada beli.
New Zealand, Alice Springs boy, Sydney boy, Melbourne boy, Yakima, Nana, you report the bukan America boy. Europe boy, Melbourne boy,
Kan ada kawin jagal pun. Melbourne
and Mike. Oh, there's a message. Oh, we can't read the screen
Paul,
from
I
here.
can hear you. Can you giggle again, Paul Carter?
I will.
No, you just, I think you've just muted yourself now. Try now.
All right.
Awesome. We have you. That's fabulous. Okay. All is good in the world of Zoom. Fantastic to see you all and to have you all with us here today. For those of you who came on to the call a little bit late, I just extended an invitation for everyone to turn on their camera so our friends at Gurrumuruwuy can have a good look at everybody who's joining today. As we begin, let us acknowledge Aboriginal country and custodians across all the places from which we're joining here today. Here in North Melbourne, we honour the Wurundjeri and the Bunurong peoples of the Eastern Kulin Nation. I also respectfully acknowledge all Indigenous people joining us today. And of course, we offer a big shout out to Yolŋu country, to all the owners and custodians of Gurrumuruwuy and all the outstations from there. We're here to celebrate Miyarrka Media's most recent project, Phone and Spear, a Yuta anthropology. As many of you know, for more than 10 years now, Miyarrka Media have been making innovative art together. Among their projects are the film Buku-manapanmirr in Christmas Spirit, the installation Gurrumuruwuy Calling, and my favourite, the film Ringtone. In some ways, it seems all the more poignant that we're coming together via Zoom to explore their latest offering, a book that is all about the power of mobile phone mediated images to bring people together across distance, across space and time. In Phone and Spear, the creative work of making images is presented as a loving act of drawing people together, of keeping in mind and in heart all those loved ones who have passed on, and also a new way of making relationships. we're really delighted to be hooking up with Miyarrka Media in Gurrumuruwuy. When we first planned this event for April this year, we were to have Jennifer and Paul travel to Melbourne. So much better to have you all speaking to us today from home ground. So let me introduce and welcome, and I'm going to have a try at this, even though I'll mangle it. Yolŋu Elder Paul Gurrumuruwuy, who's Director of Lanapoi Homelands Association and also a Director of Gondal Aboriginal Corporation Social Enterprise and co-founder of Miyarrka Media. Jennifer Deger, who's a tropical research leader at James Cook University, at the Cairns Institute and co-founder of Miyarrka Media. And also joining us today from Gurrumuruwuy is Kathleen Gurrumuruwuy and Meredith Hollander. Welcome to you all. And here to talk with Miyarrka Media and with the rest of us, we have two eminent creative scholars whose work has been a source of inspiration to many of us on this call. Stephen Feld, Distinguished Professor Emeritus of Anthropology, filmmaker, musician, and sound artist at the School for Advanced Research, University of New Mexico, and Paul Carter, writer, artist, poet, cultural heritage specialist, director of the Institute for Postcolonial Studies Board, and Professor of Design Urbanism at RMIT. Both Steve and Paul are interdisciplinary makers in and beyond the written word. Both produce work that is profoundly anthropological in its attention to the world. And in introducing them, let me draw your attention to Steve's new Voices of the Rainforest immersive cinema project, the culmination of more than 4 decades of collaboration with the Bona community of Bosave, Papua New Guinea. And let me also mention Paul Carter's latest book, the quite remarkable Amplifications, Poetic Migrations, Auditory Memory, which is out with Bloomsbury. Now, just in time for today's celebration, we have learned the exciting news that Phone and Spear will next week be awarded a very esteemed prize, the Gregory Bateson Book Award by the Society for Cultural Anthropology in the United States. The Bateson Prize is given for interdisciplinary, experimental, and innovative work. And Miyarrka Media will be one of 3 Bateson Prize winners this year, as the judges have honoured, quote, the ethic of shared leadership and collective praxis that underpins many contemporary Black and Indigenous social movements, and to emphasise scholarship that moves anthropology forward collectively. So a hearty congratulations to you all on that award. So what we're going to do now is we're going to watch a short film that Miyarrka Media have made that introduces their project, their Phone and Spear project, this marvellous book, for those of you who've not seen it. And then we're going to hear from Steve Feld, and then we're going to hear from Paul Carter, and then we might hear from Miyarrka Media, and then we'll have some discussion. So welcome to everyone, and Carlos, over to you to play the film, please.
Ma, uttulo.
Wonderful, thank you. Steve, can we throw straight to you?
Thank you. You all hear me? I hope so. It's wonderful to see many friends on the screen here in Australia and elsewhere. I haven't seen Paul Carter for 5 years, but the last time we had a very long, open-ended conversation, and I haven't seen Jennifer for a while, or Lisa, or Kirsty, but it's really great to see you all. I want to thank IPCS for this invitation. It's very generous, and especially thank Paul and Kathleen and Meredith and Jennifer for including me in this conversation. And to all of you at Gurrumuruwuy, I just want to share my sense of admiration, respect, and honor to be part of this conversation today. I'm not just going to speak for myself, I'm going to speak for myself and 12 other people, because in the last 4 months, I've had the experience of teaching a course with 12 students from 7 different countries, from Zimbabwe, from India, from Lebanon, from the US, from the UK, from Malaysia, and Hong Kong, a course for the Center for Experimental Ethnography at the University of Pennsylvania. And I wanted to start the course off with in the most smashing way that I could imagine, and that was with phone and spear. And we spent a good 6 weeks reading and listening and talking. And I first want to say to everybody at Gurrumuruwuy, the deepest thanks from all of my students. And they all wanted me to tell you how, for this entire semester, they have been deeply inspired by your openness to share your stories and to bring people together into worlds that are in some ways far apart and in other ways very close together through the art of mobile phones. And throughout the semester, my students keep saying, I can't believe it. You know, I really feel that I can hear and see and touch connection. This is not just about reading. This is not just about writing. And these students come from communications and literature and anthropology and music and other fields. And they have been so touched by the way that Miyarrka Media has remixed the senses and the arts and technologies into this beautiful intermedial feast for us. And the students all talk about how they love to just touch and hold the book, because it draws them into color, it draws them into space, it draws them into place, it draws them into seeing images in a very new way. It draws them into hearing sound through seeing images, and seeing images and hearing sounds and touching things in new ways. So this remix is an extraordinary gift. And I'm not here just to say that because it's touched me, but because it's touched all of these students, and I know that it's going to touch many more people. And Jennifer was very generous and spent an hour with our class, answering their questions and taking their feedback and interests. And I just want to say to Jennifer and everybody at Gurrumuruwuy that even after Jennifer's visit to our class, the students have just been talking about this project all semester, and so many of the things they're doing in many places around the world have been touched and inspired by this project, which is really an extraordinary gift, well beyond Australia, and to all the people who are hearing and listening and watching the films and viewing your Instagram site and making connections with you from different places there. So I just want to thank you all for that, from me and from my students. And I want to stress the way in which so many people who try to do experimental work move from one medium to another. You know, one week we're making a radio show, the next week we might be writing an essay or preparing a photographic exhibit or a film. But what Miyarrka Media has done is a truly deep and rich and unique example of the integration of all the arts and all the technologies of the senses. And that is really a whole new, takes the inspiration for experimental research in culture and communication to a whole new level for me. I just find that the book becomes richer and richer the more I find myself engaging with the colors and the images and the patterns and all of the ways they connect people and spaces and times and memories and so many, in so many different ways. And although I have favorite films and favorite images as well, I think that the book takes the art of conversation to a whole new level. And it's really a conversation that shows so much care for each other. My students were so moved when they felt how much care all of Paul and all of your family and all of your friends, the way people have cared for Jennifer for a long time and the way Jennifer has become part of your family and you've become part of hers. And my students have remarked over and over again about this inspiration and this remarkable feeling that research can be a family affair. And that family and connection speaks through pages, it speaks through films, it speaks through sound recordings, it speaks through the whole idea of a remix. But what most speaks to me and what most speaks to them is the true openness to share worlds and to share visions and to share hopes. And so with all respect and admiration, I just want to say a very deep thank you to Miyarrka Media for engaging and producing this work and constantly taking it to new levels. It really is an inspiration for those of us who have received this. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Steve. Paul, is your camera working? Paul Carter?
Let's see. Now?
No. Oh, there he is. Excellent. Okay, over to you.
I want to, first of all, pay my respects to the people on whose land I work and live, the Bunyurong people, and to express my respect to elders past, elders present, and elders emerging. And it's hard to imagine a publication and a vision for a different future, more effective, more beautifully put together, more critical and creative than this publication. And it's a very funny publication as well. The way it's putting the honey out for the Balandat, the way that it's suggesting that we get these white fellas in some way, and then we'll see what we do with them, outer and inner, the onion rings of what might be learned about how it lasts to live with, to recognize and be on, or at least adjacent to country. It's a book that can be read upside down, inside out. It's a book that hums. It's a book that walks the land. This is not just mediation in a technological or a genre sense. It's about mediating the past. It's about mediating. There's a beautiful passage, I think Jennifer talks about how the picture talks back, how it's not that we interpret it, it interprets us. And so to be in that channel is something this book tries to translate for people who are not in that country, but who need to relate differently. So it's both an inspiration and also an instruction. And there's nothing sentimental in the book. It's full of wit and fun, but it's deeply serious. And as Steve says, it will travel. Talking about traveling, hello, Steve, as well. Hello to the family up there, and congratulations to you all on your country for this extraordinary gift. But I was thinking of, as in one of his wonderful books, he discusses in some detail this delicate balance between what is known and held close to the heart, in the honey of the heart, and how it travels in a cosmopolitan environment, and how this word cosmopolitan has lots of staircases in it. It depends whether you're walking down it or up it, whether it's heavy or light. And he talks about diasporic. And you know, when I first saw this book, I was talking to my Wajak friends in Perth, because we need to find a new way to get across to the white fellows there, how we are going to retell stories. They're not my stories. I'm a migrant. I come from England and I tread respectfully on that land. But together, what would be the mixture, not just of image and text, but of pictures that actually speak from the land to us, but speak it through mediation, speak it through this brilliant reimagining of technologies of communication. And I pointed this to them and they immediately, their eyes opened. They said, how do we do this? And I said, well, we need to go and talk to Miyarrka Media and find out how they do it. But the point really is that it doesn't only speak to Ballender. It speaks to First Nations peoples all around the globe who are seeking to remediate their relationship to what, as Jennifer rightly points out towards the end, is a pretty unforgiving world. It's not a world that immediately inspires hope, but Paul says in this book, yeah, okay, it's true. But if you have your roots in the land, if the mediation is really the ancestors' tracks, then you can take control of this technology and remediate its value. So I want to pay my respect to the makers of this book and to their families and to the country where they speak from, and to thank them from the bottom of my heart for sharing this extraordinary combination of artistic sophistication, simplicity of directness and approach, but above all, the honey in the heart, the love that comes through this book. What a refreshing change. What a refreshing change when the professions, when the politics that we inhabit are so based on division. So I just want to thank you and say, I feel very privileged to be part of the conversation.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Steve. Thanks both of you for those lovely, very, very poignant and heartfelt words. So over to Miyarrka Media now to say whatever you would like to all of us.
Thank you, everyone. Just watching, I so felt comfortable in my heart. Just giving you thank you about this, to watching Miyarrka Media at the moment, in this minute. And this is the different anthropology. I just want to share some difference looking at anthropologies in those days, in the 60s, 50s, and 40s. It's a different way. Not just painting, not just walking without anything, you know. You have this got riches. This is how new anthropologists, new generation, new technology days, these days, we have to bring people, bring images, bring Balandaka Yolŋu, Asian, Chinese, whatever, together and feel this with our hearts and minds and walk with it or flow with it. There's too many layers and layers and layers of feeling. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Kaylin Wanabe. I'm one of the team for Miyarrka Media. Like for young people to use a remix and edit all the photos to make a live and show how to
people to feel the remix in the picture and what is live on the background. Thank you. Hello, my name is Meredith Hollander. I'm so proud of this project and thankful that we have received from you, and thank Jenny. So yeah, thank you.
So I too will say thank you for giving us news of the reception of the book, because we made this over many years. This is the culmination of 10 years work. We first started, we were working on a different project, the Buku-manapanmirr in Christmas Spirit. We were editing that film here in the Art Centre. When people kept coming in and showing us funny things on their phones, funny videos and photographs, and all of a sudden, as an anthropologist who had, for the previous, God knows, 15 years, been turning up with cameras and galvanizing video projects that way, all of a sudden I thought, oh, my work here is over. Right? People are representing themselves, they're filming themselves, there's so much vitality in these funny clips. But then we started to think about what these clips were doing and started collecting the images and trying to figure out, well, then we made a series, then we made an exhibition and we made the film Ringtone. And it was when we traveled internationally with the exhibition Gurrumuruwuy Calling, and across Australia, that was the moment where we saw that the images themselves, even with the kinds of explanations we could put up on wall text, weren't enough to convey the depth of meaning and the ways in which it couldn't activate the images in the ways we wanted. And so we had experiences with Kayleen and Meredith would talk to people in our installations and explain them and tell personal stories, and those were the moments when all of a sudden, remember, people started to cry and they were hugging you and thanking you. And so for me, that was the moment where I thought, all right, we need to take it a step further. We need, all of a sudden a book became the unexpected outcome of our work. The challenge to bring all this together. And so then for a long time, it took us a long time to find the form for the book too. I was advised by my university to write a sole authored monograph because it would be better for my career, and really discouraged by some, in fact. But already, there was such an integrity to what we were doing, such an energy. And so we pushed on and we made the manuscript, and none of us knew if what we were attempting would have legs, much less legs to walk on country. It was, so it's extraordinary, honestly. It's really extraordinary for us to sit here and to hear that our experiment that became Phone and Spear is connecting in the ways that we had only dared to hope. So, yeah, so I think now we're up for discussion.
Yeah, excellent. So absolutely, we're open for discussion. Given we're quite a large number of people, I'd ask you perhaps to use the raise hand little button. If you click on participants at the bottom of your screen, you'll see there's a blue raise hand, and we'll come to you. And perhaps while people are formulating their questions, let me ask you, Mob, might be a really simple or it might be a really hard question, I don't know. Why do you want these images to be seen by Hollander? Why did you make a book to talk directly to Balanda?
Why? Because there's a life. Balanda, this, in those days, people used to do not show their photos in those old days, you know. That's it. But this time, on this new generation with technology, people showing their photos through phones, through computer, because they are alive in spirit, you know. They're not gone. Yes, they did, but they got that. They're there with you all the time, every moment, every second, walking with you, talking to you, every second, every time. That's that's the answer, is it? You're asking?
Nakon, why we're using this to touch Balanda?
Why? Why? Because to touch, we just want to give you this opportunity or feelings to you that you might have the same feeling like us. Balanda Yolŋu together, or any Balanda.
Yeah.
I know it sounds hard, yeah, but yeah.
Very good. Open to anybody. Uta. Uta, where are you?
Congratulations. Sorry. It's such a beautiful work, and I wanted to let you know that a bit like Stephen Feld, I used the book that I lent to somebody who doesn't want to give it back, but to students who are studying industrial design, not anthropologists. So they are taught to become makers of things that machines can produce, like even a mobile phone in a factory. So they have to design things like, you know, from a technical point of view. And they saw your book and we talked about it and they felt encouraged, you know, and given like permission to show a bit of their own personal life histories in their products and their feelings. And that was really an amazing opening for the whole class. So I just wanted to thank you from that perspective. Well done.
Thank you. I'll just say something while we're waiting for more questions. As we were putting the text together, and really it was a literal cut and paste. You know, I'd print out the transcriptions of our discussions and then we'd cut them up and move them around. And, you know, I spoke before about our uncertainty about the form. And Paul would often ask me, can you check with your anthropologist friends that we need experts to tell us if we're doing this right? So at this level, you know, of feedback is really encouraging because, you know, we've got another project coming up soon, and this then gives us a foundation to push forward with.
Melinda?
Go for it, Paul.
Can I just say a word, please? To the question about Balanda, and Paul explained it very clearly, it seems to me, because part of the beauty of this work and what lies behind it is teaching Balanda how to look and live. And I understood him to say it's time that Balanda looked at photographs differently. And you start to relate if you do that properly. And you don't see them just as things to consume. You see them as relations in that sense of absent and places who call you. And this seems to me what this book does beautifully, where, and Jennifer talks to this too. She says, you know, the pictures talk to us. It's not what we read into them. It's what they teach us how to see. And this book is a book about teaching everybody how to understand technology too. So I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point. And anybody who's seen the book will also know that part of that method, part of that way of teaching us to see works by almost like a piling up of these images. You know, there are so many stories in this book of hardship and sorrow and tragedy that are going on in people's lives. But it's almost as if the images, they're pushing back, they're pushing back, they're pushing back with so much power and force. Another image, another image, another image. And each image is its own little precious gem that draws you into the story. You want to know the story of why those different things are being brought together. And the book gives us each of those. It draws us in almost at the miniature, into the closeness of making sense, of trying to understand why that image is so precious, why it's held there with such weight, and why it needs to jump from phone to phone to phone in a family shared around, keeping all of those memories and that love alive. Very, very powerful. Victor Baskin, how gorgeous to see your name there.
Can you hear me okay?
You can.
Yeah. So I just want to, I've got my book next to me so I can feel you guys here in Aotearoa. Hello from Wellington. I'm being a bit loud for people who are studying, but I'm excited, so I'll try and calm my voice. But I wondered if you could expand a little bit. I'm just listening to this talk of images talking to us. And there's this beautiful thing that happens when you're making images in the phone. You collage them in certain ways, and then we kind of remix them again for the book. And that layering creates a new speaking to us in a new way, even with the same images. And I wondered if the team could talk a little bit about that process and how that happened, and how you, I mean, deciding on which images to use, yes, but then how do you remix them into new pattern, new color each time?
You can extend that, Santiago, comment and helping us to make. Okay, no. So one of the challenges we've found with working with these images is precisely they're so hard to see actually for Balanda. So the question of how we presented them in a book format in a way to make them sweet like honey, to make them visually appealing, was always going to be a challenge right from the outset. And so we recruited the help of a designer who'd worked with us on another project, who came from Brooklyn, Santiago Carrasquilla. And we talked about how are we going to solve this problem, and how are we going to, at the same time, not create an archive of these images. We didn't just want to reproduce what we'd collected. If we were going to make a book that was alive, it had to itself do the work of remix. So together with Santi, we started assembling these patterns, new patterns, out of the old images. And that was when you got excited, right? Remember here? Yeah, you want to say something about that?
Yeah. First time we were just putting up all the photos coming out from the phones. Then the guy on Santiago, Santiago, showed the different way of technology to how to give more fullness of with pictures, colors, and there's backgrounds, too many backgrounds with honey, everything. And I was really excited. So this is where it's coming from, with all these patterns and colors, not only written blank paper, you know. There's too much, and there's too many, and there's too deep that he showed me. Then from there, that's how we step in to move more work on the colors and patterns and memories and fullness of, because someone passed away, there's only, the names are still fresh and the skin and the moiety and the land is still alive today.
Anyone else want to talk about this pattern?
Yeah, it's also telling, the patterns is telling us like our homelands, song lines, and story, and the ceremony as well. Or like Yolŋu people, and Yolŋu people, if they wanted to look that book, what is like the picture showing, they can understand, get a feelings through the patterns as well. Yeah.
I remember the time when we were working with Santi here in the art center, and Maury, you were pointing at the screen and telling about what happened if you squint your eyes and look at the pattern. Do you remember that? You were saying
Patterns.
yeah, when we made like patterns like this one where we put things together, we had it on the computer screen, and you were saying, you were explaining to the art center workers how this could be the same as like a bark painting,
No.
and you could see the lines.
Lines by just looking at this, looking at the painting on the screen, but that's not represent the lines when you do on the bark paintings or any bark painting, or do you do, but this is the way the lines and the colors go through these photos. You know, it's just, it's a different way of looking of lines and the painting. Through a different way of technology and putting colors, more riches in the painting.
Because you said we had to make the book alive.
Yeah. Yeah. Life that can talk back.
Can I just want to say that that's one of the most special things for me about the book, is that every time you read or you return to it, the images are alive in a new way. Each time they stay alive. And that's the most beautiful thing I think about this book, is that it is not necessarily just analysis like anthropologists normally do, but it's an expression of the work and of the life on its own terms as well. So the images speak again and again, and each time you spend time with them, they're alive again, but in a new way every time. And so this object is, and I think of it as an object, you know, it's this beautiful object of expression of life. And it's an added bonus that there is some anthropology in there as well. But I just want to say thank you, because like, it's rare that work allows images to be on their own and not just about forms of, although it is important remediation and representation, they're also alive in their own language and on their own terms in a way that we don't often give them that respect and space, and you guys really hold space for that connection. And yeah, I love it. I tell you that all the time, but I'll say it again today. So thank you.
Linda, maybe you could talk a little bit about making the images and how you make them alive.
Yeah, like the picture I was grabbing from the, like all the family photos I grabbed from the other family members, like the one that I made these photos in the middle. There's all my uncles. I got 3 uncles and my mom. And I put a heart. But it's but on the side I put on the honey on the middle, and the photos of the people on the my grandson and my nephew and my niece, all my family. But that's representing in the middle. That's the photos, because they this on the side. There's like the mother, they carrying them, and there's in the middle. There's kids, or like more meanings to shows on elders or leaders or the people around the community. They might catch, oh, this is the kids in the middle and the side on the moms,
They don't look around. They don't use kids. They looking like a youth in our culture. Oh yeah, as I said, it's all about deep meaning, and full of means, full of riches. There's many layers, different images, but it's connected to the land, and it's connected to the song lines, and it's connected to the Amoiti.
Yeah.
And that feelings, the feelings, what you call in English?
The Laura feelings.
Yeah, Laura feelings. It's bring Laura feelings.
Yeah.
Hey, I've got 3 people wanting to talk. I've got Lisa Stefanoff, Kevin Murray, and Angela Foley. So over to you, Lisa.
Hi, hello everybody there in Gapuiak. I'm speaking to you from Mbantua, Alice Springs. It's very hot here today. It's lovely to be here, and as Stephen said, to find myself in the company of a lot of friends, and we meet in this black box room. Oh, you need that? And I've even seen somebody in the audience that I know from somewhere else in the world that I didn't expect to be here at all. And so you've brought people together in a very special way, in a layered way, even for this conversation. So thank you for that. I had a question which I think you might have already answered with all the other conversations about joy and happiness and surprise, and the way in which this book does surprise us. And people said it's in different ways. When we open the pages, we think, wow, what is this? And it pulls us in, and there's a happy surprise. And that's, I have to say, not always what we find reading anthropology. Some of us anthropologists, we read things and we don't always have the happiness or that Laura feeling in the things that we read, even though in our work we often feel it. And that's something that's very hard for anthropologists, to move between the happiness of our work and the happiness of what we create. So I want to thank you so much for making the model, as Uta said, of that for everybody to know that it's possible, and to really feel the translation of the Laura feeling into a book form. So thank you for that. My question is actually about, I'm just really curious to know how your families are receiving the book in their lives, with children and other people outside of Miyarrka Media. And if you could, say anything about the life of this book now in the community.
Yeah. Hello. My sister, she read that book last night, and she excited, and she felt emotionally, and she was thinking of her father he passed away, because those pages, it's all pages in this book, it's all connected. And she read it last night and she felt emotionally and she cried. Yeah, she just told me this morning. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, because I have wondered about whether this book is now holding things that, pictures that might be somewhere deep in someone's phone, but they might have forgotten about those pictures, and then they see them coming back in the book, and the memory of making the pictures as well. So I can imagine
Yeah.
kinds of feelings there. Yeah, and I think that's what I'm trying to capture. Everyone said these different layers, that the book itself has this vitality and aliveness, and it's touching such places for tears and memory and the loving of what's not right next to us now anymore. So thank you so much for working with those feelings. Thank you.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, you know, when we watch the remix in the film, where actually Victor added the extra light in the little clip that we saw in the images, everyone laughed and felt full of appreciation again too. So, you know, so there's memory there, but there's also the potential to activate and reactivate these images. Or we watch the clips that we collected back in 2010, and when we watch them again, everyone laughs. So yeah, it's this living archive really of connection and potentiality that the book and we've got an open access version of the book too, which has some of the, it's able to have the GIFs and the flashes and some of the bits of the film clip too, that does other kinds of justice to the work. But like Victor, at least for me, it's the object that still holds the place in my heart. Even though in the beginning I thought that this really should go back to becoming living online and living in a website. Strangely, from going through the process of designing the book and thinking through everything that it would take to make a book that could be alive with the power and the kind of vitality that the digital brought to it. In fact, at least for me, it's the printed book rather than the online version.
Kevin Murray, are you there?
Yes, thanks, Melinda. Hi from Brunswick and Melbourne. And I can't help but notice the beautiful bati baskets behind you, which says a lot about the fantastic culture at Gurrumuruwuy, legendary fibre works. And I'm interested in the connection between the traditional cultures and this book. And thank you for sharing all the creative work you've done with phones in this book. It really opens our eyes to how to use phones differently, which is very important for us to learn, as well as from your own culture. And being, in the city, for instance, if we want to go out with a phone, we often use Google Maps. It helps us get from A to B. I'm not sure if Google Maps is very useful where you are at the moment, but clearly it's not necessarily a good way of connecting to country. It doesn't really tell you much about the land. And we think of the phone as something that distracts us from the world around us. It's not something which is good in terms of our connection to land. So I'd be interested if you could share your thoughts about how you use the phone in country and how it helps you connect to country and how we might learn from that.
I just need to say something. We've got 5 minutes before I've got to cut and run and take my computer and jump on a plane. So we're going to be short and sharp now. Now, who wants to describe? So it looks like it's up to me to speak for the ways that phones connect to traditional culture. I mean, the book lays out a lot of it, right? There's people use the phone to activate memories and a sense of connection that project them. It becomes a technology that projects people back to the Wānga, back to land. So people use ringtones, a little snippet from ceremony. Yeah, that when they hear it, then they're straight back. Those connections pull them back. And likewise with the images, the collage images, they're telling stories of family, of course, but always through the land. So this technology of connection, in Yolŋu hands, all of a sudden was put to the use of connecting to places and people and depths of meanings that certainly they were not designed for.
Thank you. Jen, we don't want you to feel stressed about your plane. So I think maybe we could talk for a long time. There's no doubt about it. This has been very exciting and wonderful meeting with you all up there. And we all rejoice in your beautiful book and look forward to its good fortune into the future. And so thank you, Jen, Paul, Kayleen and Meredith for joining us. Thank you especially to Stephen Feld and Paul Carter for your wonderful comments, and to all of you for joining us today. And we hope to see you all again really soon.
Thank you for watching us from all over. Thank you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, and Melinda, thank you so much for organising this. And I agree that this is better to have done it this way, where we can be together here, than having made it to Melbourne. But we're so grateful to be able to have this opportunity to talk with people and share a bit about all this. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Fabulous. Travel well.
Good.
How many people? 100 and
140.
140. 140.
140.
We're off. Bye.
Bye.
See ya.